ABA is at a crossroads. Families are pulling their kids from services. Entire schools are refusing to work with ABA providers. And autistic adults, the very people our work is supposed to support, are speaking out about how our interventions left them feeling broken, controlled, or erased. These stories aren't fringe. They're not rare. They're the result of a system that, for too long, prioritized compliance over connection, normalization over autonomy, and control over collaboration. And whether it was intentional or not, that approach has caused real harm. Harm that looks like adults who mask so deeply they lose their sense of identity. Kids who learn that expressing distress means getting ignored or even punished. Parents who feel unheard or unsupported by the professionals they trusted. That harm isn't just unethical, it's unsustainable. And it's forcing all of us to take a hard look at what we're doing and who it's really serving. I'm Amelia Dalphonse. I'm a board certified behavior analyst and co-founder of Master ABA. If you're watching this, chances are you're someone who cares deeply about doing this work in a way that's ethical, compassionate, and truly effective. Same here. Over the years, I've supported hundreds of professionals who've told me the same thing. They've said, I want to do better, but I feel like I'm stuck between what I was taught and what I now believe. If that's you, you're not alone. That internal tension that you're feeling, that's not a problem. That's the sign of growth. In this video, we're going to talk about what it really means to practice neurodiversity affirming ABA, why the shift is not optional anymore, and 5 practical ways you can start making meaningful changes today. And along the way, I'll share how we created space for this work inside the Master ABA Dojo, a community of professionals who are done with checklist CEUs and ready to do real, reflective, values-driven work. I'll tell you more about that later, but for now, let's talk about what needs to change and what you can do about it. You might be thinking, I don't use punishment, or I'm not like those providers. But neurodiversity affirming care isn't just about what you avoid, it's about what you prioritize. Sometimes non-affirming practices aren't loud or obvious. They can be really subtle. They show up in the kinds of goals we write, like when we prioritize eye contact or stillness, or when we include things like quiet hands, as if that's a meaningful life skill. They show up in a way we take data, focusing on reducing stereotypies instead of understanding that those behaviors might be the client's way of regulating. They show up in our language when we call something inappropriate without asking if it's actually just unfamiliar, or maybe it's just uncomfortable for us. And they show up in the decisions we make about interventions, especially when we implement them without truly considering consent, assent, or the client's lived experience. When we fail to affirm identity, we communicate implicitly or explicitly that something about the client needs to be fixed. And that's not therapy. That's conditioning compliance for someone else's comfort. The world is watching us now. Parents, advocates, even insurance providers are demanding change. And if we don't evolve, we risk becoming obsolete, or even worse, a field known for more trauma than transformation. But here's the good news. You have the power to change the narrative. When you provide care that honors autonomy, respects neurodivergent identity, and centers collaboration, you restore trust in ABA. You build real connection. You help families heal. This isn't about politics. It's about ethics, effectiveness, and sustainability. And it starts with the choices that we make every single day. If you're looking for guidance on how to make those choices with confidence, that's exactly what we focus on in the Master ABA Dojo. But again, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. For now, let's walk through those 5 practical strategies you can start using today to make your practice more neurodiversity affirming. First, replace compliance goals with coping and communication goals. Traditional ABA often centers around compliance, following instructions, sitting still, reducing protest. But compliance doesn't equal learning, and it definitely doesn't equal safety or trust. A goal like follows directions without protest teaches submission, not skill. Instead, teach clients how to ask for help, request breaks, or express their frustration safely. Try replacing a goal like Susie will have quiet hands during work tasks with something that helps the learner advocate for what they actually need. Something like Susie will say, I need space when she needs space to engage in motor activities. Or replace a goal like Sean will sit during circle time with Sean will ask for an alternative when he wants to leave the circle. These goals promote true independence, the kind that works in the real world when no therapist is prompting them. Second, co-create goals with families and clients. ABA should never be something we do to people. It should be something that we build with them. Ask families, if we could solve one problem in your daily routine that would have the biggest impact on your day, what would it be? You can also ask your clients, do you want to work on this today? You will be surprised that many children will say yes to working with you when they know they have true choice in the session. Even non-speaking clients can help guide the process through visuals, choice making, and engagement. When we center their input, we stop writing goals for our own data sheets and start creating change that actually matters. Shared goals equal shared investment, and shared investment leads to better outcomes for the client. Third, respect sensory regulation instead of suppressing it. Rocking, humming, spinning, flapping, these aren't disruptions, they're sensory regulation strategies. They let us know that the learner has a need that they're filling. When we target these behaviors for reduction without understanding their true function, we're sending them a message. Your way of coping is unacceptable. Instead, ask, is this behavior hurting anyone? Is it calming or stimulating? Does it help the client stay engaged? And what need is this behavior filling? Removing someone's stimming is like taking away their oxygen mask. If you do, you better offer something equally effective and affirming. Fourth, use language that reflects strength and humanity. The way we write our goals and the way we write about our clients shapes how others treat them and how we view them ourselves. And the words we use are often rooted in the medical model of disability, the idea that autism is a problem to be fixed. But neurodiversity affirming care aligns more closely with the social model, which recognizes that the challenges autistic people face are often due to barriers in the environment, not deficits within the person themselves. Words like non-compliant, manipulative, or maladaptive are red flags. They blame the learner for their inability to meet their needs or adapt to our approach. Try shifting your language when you can to using language that's sort of like this. And think of problem behavior more like a distress signal, or consider attention seeking as connection seeking, or think about task refusal as communicating overwhelm or discomfort with a task. These changes may seem small, but they reinforce a fundamental shift from controlling behavior to understanding the context of that behavior. Now, we also need to acknowledge reality. Many of us work in systems that still demand deficit-based language for insurance funding or educational documentation. When that happens, here's the goal. Use affirming language whenever you can and explain the context when you can't. You might write the term required by the funder, but you could add a note like, This behavior appears to function as a form of sensory regulation and is not inherently harmful. So whenever you can, try to use language that highlights a person's strengths instead of focusing on what they're lacking. Talk about the context of a behavior rather than just whether someone followed a simple direction. And always, and I mean always, lean into supporting autonomy, not just pushing someone to look more typical. Remember, many autistic adults prefer identity first language like autistic person. But ask, don't assume, and always honor their preference. Language is power. When we shift the way we talk about our clients, we shift the way that we serve them. And that shift is at the heart of truly affirming care. And finally, give clients real choice and respect their no. Offering choices doesn't just mean saying red marker or blue, it means honoring autonomy. True choice means more than picking between two pre-selected options. It means having the ability to say, nope, not right now, or I don't want to. It means a client can speak up and ask, can we try something else, and actually be heard. And when those words aren't available yet, we teach alternatives that still honor that autonomy, like, can I take a break? Or can I do this after I have a snack? Because giving real choices isn't about controlling the outcome. It's about building trust and respecting the person who's in front of us. These aren't excuses. They're self-advocacy tools. The more we respect a client's no, the more meaningful their yes becomes. When we create space for refusal, we don't lose control, we gain trust. These 5 strategies are a great place to start, but the truth is, shifting our practice takes more than a few changes to our data sheets. It takes support, reflection, and space to process and grow. And that's why we created the Master ABA Dojo. It's where BCBAs who share these values are learning together, supporting one another, and actively building a better future for our field. If that sounds like the kind of space you've been searching for, I hope you're going to join us. And if this message resonated with you, you'll definitely want to watch Why Evidence-Based Doesn't Always Mean Ethical. It digs deeper into the gaps in our field and what we can do to close them ethically and practically. I'll link to it here and in the description below. Neurodiversity Affirming ABA isn't optional anymore. It's the only path forward. So let's walk it together.